These are the men and women of Beaver Valley, the bravest of the brave. They fought fearlessly for their country, their city, their community, and for the ideals we share as Americans. They served proudly in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf War, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Here now are their stories, their own experiences in their own words, the words of the heroes of Beaver Valley. George Haught grew up in Wellsville, Ohio, knowing that at some point in his life, he wanted to enter the Marine Corps.
Actually, there was 5 of us that went in at the same time. We'd been friends forever, and you know, we sitting around drinking beer on a riverbank for my 16th birthday, and we just decided it'd be a nice thing to do. So at various points in time, we all ended up in the Marine Corps.
When Haught eventually enlisted in the Marine Corps, he was sent to Parris Island for boot camp, and then to jungle warfare training in preparation for service in Vietnam. Once in country, he fought with Gulf Company's 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines in Hue City. Part of the Tet Offensive, it was one of the largest and toughest battles of the Vietnam War.
When we first come into the city, there was a tank that was blown up, and there was a couple South Vietnamese soldiers that were still burning alongside of the tank, and we started taking machine gun fire from there.
Haught and fellow soldiers set on their mission to help defend the MACV, or the Military Assistance Command Vietnam.
They had been taking some fire, and we were supposed to go and be back in about 12 hours. They figured, you know, to clear out the few insurgents. And when we got there, it took us about 5 hours to take and fight our way into these people, a quarter of a mile from where we were.
House by house, structure by structure, Marines searched for the enemy and slowly cleared the area, all the while heading towards their goal.
They had nailed or barricaded all the doors closed, so we were out exposed for quite some time before we'd get enough force to kick these doors in and go in and clear it out.
Within an hour of finally reaching the MACV, Haught and his fellow Marines got orders to cross the Perfume River Bridge to bring back a South Vietnamese general.
Within 15-20 minutes, when we crested the bridge, we started getting machine gun fire from our left flank. We had mortars coming in on us and rockets coming in on us.
After eliminating the machine gun, the Marines arrived at the Citadel.
We go down and we just get into an extremely intense firefight. And we're probably an hour, 45 minutes to an hour fighting, and then we all ran out of ammunition. We're all surrounded, no ammo. So our riflemen started fixing their bayonets, and we were just waiting for the enemy to come out to destroy us. It seemed like forever, you know, we was waiting, and then all of a sudden we heard this 50 caliber open up. A guy from the other company, he had commandeered a truck, and he came down. He started opening up on the wall with that 50 caliber. Well, everybody started firing on him then. So a couple other small civilian vehicles, somebody, you know, they had hot wired them, and they come up, and we started throwing our wounded and dead on there.
The Marines recrossed the river to get dead and wounded to the aid station. Not long after, they got orders to prepare to go out again that night.
The North Vietnamese kind of preempted that because we were supposed to go out on a night mission at 2000, which is 8 p.m. And at 1930, we started getting rockets in 25, 30 at a time. Just went on for about a half an hour. The rockets stopped. We knew that, you know, they were going to start their assault. So we assumed our positions. The wounded Marines come out of the aid station, took up fighting positions, and they just started running wave after wave against us. And there was like rain at night, and it was just like a river of blood that was flowing in front of the MAC-V. By the time sun come up in the morning, we had 24 inside the compound that were dead. There was another 150 that were still littering the street that they couldn't extract.
By the third day of fighting, Haught and his division were tasked with clearing out the university.
We had to fight our way out and then start taking houses. It took us 5 hours. 4-man fire teams just running out before we took our first 2 houses, one on each side of the street. We were bunkered down in those houses. The bodies of the people that we had killed were still in there with us, and you sit there and you wonder if they're going to take and, throw grenades. They're just going to come and get you. They're going to throw recoilless rifles and blow the houses up, and it was nerve-wracking. And the intensity of the firefights within 15 minutes, you couldn't hear anything. The gun smoke and that, your eyes were watering. And so it took us about 12 hours to take and clean out the university.
While continuing to secure the university, Haught had 2 close calls on the roof of the building.
We had rockets coming in on us, and then the 50 caliber started opening up. It was terracotta roof, and that stuff just started flying all over, and I got about 6 or 7 shards through here. There was one in my temple area that they really wasn't sure of, and so they sent me back, and they pulled it out and threw a couple stitches in it, and I went right back. I was over on the other side of the university, and we were firing in support of somebody else, and there was a recoilless rifle that fired. It hit a half a story below us, put five Marines off of the roof. 4 of us fell onto balconies. 5th Marine fell all the way off, and beam come down and it impelled him. I look back at it now, and you wonder how you can ever survive, this part of it. And then you go through and you have to live with it for the rest of your life.
Haught would fight with the Marines for 31 days to capture Hue City from the North Vietnamese. Every day there was the same routine of searching house by house, securing the city from the enemy.
Like a continual loop. It was just like Groundhog Day. Every day, you had a different objective that you had to go to. A vast amount of the time, by the time you would get into some of these buildings, the Viet Cong, which was a branch of the North Vietnamese, would go through and they were executing the families that they thought were government sympathizers. And you go to kick these doors down, and a lot of times they barricaded the doors with the bodies of the family that they had slaughtered.
Overall, Haught would receive 3 Purple Hearts for his service in Vietnam. His 3rd Purple Heart occurred in July 1968 at what Marines called the Rock Crusher, Hill 661.
I stepped on the mine. Went straight up in the air and scrambled my brain, and I got a little bit of shrapnel out of it, but a whole lot of guys in front and back of me, fared worse. 2 guys that I just talked to a few months ago at our reunion, they lost both of their legs. One lost a leg, one lost an arm. You know, so I fared better than them. It actually set off a daisy chain of bouncing Bettys, which come up about this high, you know, and they're just designed to, you know, devastate the lower part of a person's body.
Haught woke up and recovered in a Philadelphia Naval Hospital. He would continue to serve outside of Vietnam until 1970. Today, he speaks at veteran breakfast clubs and encourages other veterans to find their voices and tell their stories.
They come up afterwards, you know, and they say to me, you know, God, if you can get up there and do that, I can too. And I've had a couple that, you know, have spoken after they've talked to me. And that feels real good that, you know, you've impacted their life, gave them a voice more or less, you know. And it makes it nice.